They really, really look like brothers. That intrigued me immediately. I knew right away. Cowardice. And basically seen this movie before. There's no need for that. Hi guys, welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. We're going to be talking about a very random, obscure movie that I found by accident. It was on the home screen of where I watch things, so I saw it. Well, technically I saw the second one. This is a duology. And I was like, cool, it's part 2. What's part 1? And so I watched part 1. I was like, okay, that was pretty good. Let's go to the second one. Second one wasn't bad, but I feel like it was a very choppy flow from one movie to the next. Anyway, we're going to talk about Code 8. Anyone else ever heard of this? There's some people out there, I know, because whatever. But, yeah, I feel like the second one was a Netflix movie, original movie. And the first one was just super small studio or something. Yeah, but anyway, excuse me. Yeah, Code 8. It's Robbie and Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell played Green Arrow in the Arrow show, and Robbie Amell was Caitlin Snow in Flash, her fiance / husband. Yeah, he was Robbie Amell, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, they're both involved in the Arrowverse, and now they're both kind of the leading roles in this. Just a little funny because they're not brothers in this universe, but there's a resemblance. There is a striking resemblance between them. So it's kind of funny that they don't play brothers in this, because they really, really look like brothers. But other than that, the casting is good, and they both do a great job. So I honestly really enjoyed the first one. It's fun. It's kind of a dark, not superhero movie, but like superpowers movie, because there are powered people and normal people, but there's not like superheroes in the world. It's just like, oh, there are powered people and there are normal people, and this is just the way the world works. And there's a whole lot of like bigotry and stuff towards the powered people, because they're kind of like human weapons. Like, how can we trust them? And so there's a lot of restrictions and stuff on them, as far as workforce and jobs and opportunities and of all that. And so that's a very interesting concept. And there's even it has a fun like montage beginning as the credits go around, so it kind of just like catches you up on what the situation and what the state of the world is. And so it does a lot of flashes of news and like news headlines and like news segments and whatever else, talking about the like controversy over powered people, and this concept that people keep trying to push legislation to basically have a powered people internment zone area where they all live and they register, and they're not allowed to use their powers. And so basically banning their powers and shoving them all into this little area and saying, okay, this is where you live and this is where everyone else lives. And that intrigued me immediately, because it reminded me of the whole Marley and Eldian situation from Attack on Titan. Slightly less interesting, because there's not powered people who hate powered people in this. But anyway, yeah. So we have the main character, who I'm blanking on his name right now. Yeah, character names didn't stick with me as well. It's also been like a month or two since I watched this, because it's taken me that long to get around to reviewing it. Anyway, I've had other things to worry about. But yeah, can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's basically, I am a powered person, and I am struggling to survive in a world where people don't want me to use my powers. And I don't know whether I should tell people I'm powered or not in order to get this job, because I need money, because my mother, who is also powered, is sick, and when she has an episode, her powers kick in and hurt her, and that's also a very fun concept. She's essentially, if you've read Keeper of the Lost City, a froster, so she controls ice, and so whenever she has this fit, like, she freezes her hands, and which causes damage because it's not just external, it's internal as well. And it's, I don't remember what sickness she has, I think it's cancer or something. And so because of the sickness and the damage that the sickness itself is doing to her body, it sends her into these fits where she starts using her powers, and that harms her even more. And so not too far into the movie, she ends up getting hospitalized because of that. But they're already drowning in medical debt anyway. And so the whole concept is, I need to figure out how to get work in order to get money so that I can pay to have my mom taken care of. And so then he obviously gets mixed up with some shady people who are, it's basically a crew of powered people who do crime for a drug dealer, because they use the spinal fluid of powered people to create is it psychoactive? To make some kind of drug. And then they, disperse it amongst people. And so we have Garrett, I think, is the main leader of the crew's name, who is played by Stephen Amell. The main, I'd call him hero, but he's not exactly a hero, but the main guy is Robbie Amell, who's trying to help his mom. And then we have Garrett, who's Stephen Amell, and then he has two people working with him. So if there's electrics, there's pyrokinetics, there's like the frosters or whatever, there's telekinetics, there's, in the second one we get kind of shapeshifters. There's a whole bunch of powers. There's also a technopath, essentially, in the second one. So there's a fairly wide range of powers, and I don't think we actually get to see all of them. It's implied that there's other ones, which is kind of fun that we don't get to know all of the powers that exist in this universe. But yeah, we do get to see a fairly wide range of them. We have a healer in this one, which is apparently is a very rare one, and so then she's very valuable, and so she's essentially it has essentially been bought by the main drug dealer guy to keep him healthy so that he can run his empire. But a fun thing with the healer is she doesn't just heal her wounds, the person's wounds, she takes them. So it heals on them, but then she gets them, which is very, very fun. And I called it from the beginning because I knew right away, but that's a good thing. It means they were laying little hints and whatever else, and if you're observant enough, you pick up on it, and so then you don't see it coming when she reveals it later on. So that's fun. We also have a great dynamic. Because we have the cops chasing after them, because obviously they break in to get ingredients to make this drug so that Robbie's character can get paid so that he can take care of his mom. So then word of that gets out, the cops are coming after them. He is under suspicion because he's one of the few, high class, high category, whatever. It's classes. Yeah, high class electrics, they call them. They control electricity. And so the cops come after him. One of those cops, probably my favorite because there's a duo of cops going after them. The other one I was sure, whatever. He's kind of the bad cop. And then we have the other guy who I can't remember his name, which is really making me mad. But I preferred him between the two. And he played the more sympathetic character because he had a daughter who was powered. And I loved that concept, and I wish we had gotten more of that. So, kind of this universe that they created was very interesting, and I really enjoyed seeing this unfold and having this just like genuinely decent guy getting roped into all of these bad things because he's desperate, and then by the end of it going, I'm an idiot and I've done all of this to save my mom, but I'm losing myself along the way. And so then eventually turns on Garrett and his crew, turns them in, turns himself in, and so then he, at the end of the movie, he goes to jail. Garrett escapes and starts and takes over the drug is called psych. Takes over like the psych business because they killed the main mob guy. And then Robbie's character has to let go of his mom and let her die, even though his entire life has been centered around saving her. And that's a fun moment because they kill the main drug dealer guy, and he then frees I can't remember the girl's name, the healer. And then she reveals he asks her, hey, can you heal basically asks, you can heal my mom. I saved you, let's heal my mom. And she goes, you don't understand, shows him this injury, then remember this injury that I healed for you. I got it. That's how it works. It's an equal exchange. I can't get rid of it. I have to take it. You're asking me to risk my life, and saving your mother could kill me. He almost makes the mistake of going and making her do it, but pulls her out of it at the last moment and goes, okay, and lets go of his mom, and then turns himself into the cops. And that's a very fun, emotional moment as well, of him letting go of his mom in order to save this healer girl's life. And accepting the fact that my mom has lived a full life, and she is ready to go. And it's okay to let her go. So that's fun. And the very end of the movie, like the last thing you get to hear is that the legislation for banning people's powers has gone through. And so they're going to be pushed into this internment zone. They're going to be prohibited from using their powers, and they're all going to have to be registered and what they are, what class they are, whatever else, which is sort of a thing throughout the movie, is everyone is registered so that they know where all the powered peoples are, which sort of makes sense. Knowing a potential threat, that part kind of makes sense, but some of the other things that they bring in are like harsher and more like, I don't know if it'd be called racist. Whatever word for this that is akin to racist, powerdist. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So you end with them going, hey, this legislation to ban powers and essentially push all of the powered people into an internment zone of sorts, it passed. And that's the end of the first movie. Now we're gonna have a whole rant about what they should have done with the second one. The second one wasn't bad, but it just felt like it was very disconnected from the first one. So it picks up after Robbie's character has served his sentence in prison, and he gets out, and he's going, no, what the heck, burns bridges with Garrett, who is still running the psych business, and he's apparently cut a deal with the cops so that he can still function, but it doesn't get out of hand. And the cops have robot dogs now, because that was another cool thing. A whole thing in the first one is they have robot cops called guardians that are then specifically designed to deal with powered people if things get out of hand, which is great, and they look awesome. Wasn't a huge fan of the dogs or their design. They seemed like they served a purpose, but it seemed kind of shoehorned into the plot a little bit. So I wasn't the biggest fan of the dogs. They were an interesting concept. I just feel like the way things went, it wasn't super natural. But yeah. So we have all this, and we got rid of my favorite cop character with his, powered daughter and whatever else, and they get offhandedly mentioned, oh yeah, we don't cross this dirty cop guy, because obviously the main cop man who originates the dog program is a dirty cop, and the dogs aren't foolproof, and they do kill people, even though the whole point is the people are mad that the guardians kill people, and so the dogs won't. They go, hey, put your hands up, and they'll stand down. Like, no, that's not gonna happen. You're definitely a dirty cop, and the dogs are definitely gonna hurt people. And so it was a little predictable, and not in like a foreshadowing way. Like I've basically seen this movie before. I know exactly what's gonna happen, and which makes it less interesting. Also, the whole thing is they're saving this girl who is kind of a technopath, and they're trying to prove that the guy is a dirty cop because he used the dogs to kill her brother. And she, for the first while that she ends up with Robbie's character, is kind of annoying. She does get better as the movie progresses, but for the first little bit, they have one conversation in particular where she just feels very annoying. But yeah, so that one was a little more meh, which is sad because the universe they created was cool, and the cliffhanger and all of these cool plotline things that they left us with in the first one could have been utilized so much better to make an even more interesting sequel. So I literally took 5 minutes to talk about this. So obviously, they end the first movie with hey, legislation to ban powers has gone through, and all powered people are going to be put into this internment zone, essentially. That would have been great. We never follow through with that. It's like it never happened. And I get, yes, there's this almost 10-year skip, I think, but still, this is a thing. It passed. There's at least should be mention of, this, even if it got overturned or something, have talk of it, but there was no talk of it. So I feel like that should have been a main thing, is them trying to prove, hey, power people don't suck. Sure, you can still have the dirty cop thrown in there. Who was also powered out of nowhere, for no reason. He was just a telekinetic. And no, just, there's no need for that. It served no real purpose. Because he used his powers once and then never again. So that part was completely unnecessary. But having, sure, a dirty cop, to have the concept of, yeah, people suck too, not just powered people, and having them kind of like Incredibles 2, they're trying to overturn the, hey, superheroes are banned legislation thing. But do it with this universe, and it can be darker, and I don't know. It should have focused around, I really, really wanted to see the concept of, powers are banned. You basically live in this internment zone. If you are a registered power person, you could have powered people trying to live normal lives and hiding their powers and suppressing their powers so that they don't get discovered as an unregistered powered person. I really, really wish that the cop character that from the first one with the powered daughter had still been in the movie, because you have two non-powered parents and their powered daughter, and now powered people are being banned and forced into internment zones. What do you do with that? You're not powered, but she is, and how do you deal with this? That would have been amazing, and I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see how they dealt with that. And yes, we have, because the little synopsis for the second one is, they help this girl who's, it says brother. I initially read it as father, which made me, when I watched the first one, think it was going to be this cop's daughter, which would have been amazing. They really should have done it that way. Get rid of Pav and her brother, because whatever, they were the meh characters anyway. Keep the cop guy's daughter. Have her father killed by this dirty cop. We could keep this dirty cop. I think his name was King or something. We could totally keep this dirty cop. Make him not powered. Make him just hate powered people. Because powered people would be banned anyway, so him hating powered people wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. It would just be the norm, basically. So we have the one cop who has a powered daughter, and so then is sort of an advocate for powered people, and is trying to convince people that powered people aren't evil. They're different, which is scary, but they're not evil, and they're not just like human weapons. they can be dangerous, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're criminals or that they are going to be dangerous. They are still people like we are. They're just different. And having that cop being an advocate for powered people because his daughter is powered, and then having King, who is a total, complete anti-powered people, hates them with a passion dude who is also a dirty cop. And I wish they would have used guardians, honestly, more than they had used the dogs. Like, he could totally use the dogs. Because people suddenly going, hey, but they're killing people, also made no sense. Because you literally voted through a legislation to ban powered people. You hate powered people. You don't want them around you. So why are you so mad that the Guardians are killing powered people? Like, that logic didn't make sense to me. So keep the Guardians, have him then, as he gains power, get control over the Guardians and their programming, and then use that as a secret weapon of sorts, and then kill this advocate cop of powered people, which then is this powered girl's daughter. And she then goes after Robbie's character for help because she would have heard about Robbie, and it would have made some sense for her to go after him because her dad was on his case and would potentially have told her stories about him. And so then she would go, he is a powerful electric, maybe he can help me, because this dirty little douchebag used the Guardians to kill my dad. And her and then his mom and her mom are separated, so her mom doesn't necessarily have to die, but you know. Anyway, this dirty cop killed my dad. You're a powerful electric, you can help me. And so then goes after Robbie. Robbie's character, his name is not Robbie. If you remember his character's name, feel free to comment it. The one downside to using my phone to record now is I can't look things up while I'm recording. Anyway, goes after Robbie's character, and then they have to figure out how to expose this dirty cop, and because of that, and do it in a way that they can maybe clear powered people's names, and then by the end of it, maybe get them to overturn the legislation for, like, finish her dad's work and overturn the legislation to ban powered people. Maybe. Or just stop the dirty cop, and then they still have to deal with the world as it is. That's fine. The way these movies vibe-wise is the ending isn't exactly happy. So then not necessarily overturning the legislation would be fine, and them just stopping the dirty cop. But like, that would have been so much better and such a much more cohesive sequel, in my opinion. Because we had the first one established characters and the universe. I'm like, cool, this is the world we're in, this is the characters we have. That's really cool. And I got hooked on those ideas and those concepts and those things that they left us with. And then the second one felt like, hey, 9 years, a decade passed, completely different situation, same characters, but completely different situation than we had you basically believing it would be when we left you off on the first one. And here, have fun. It's basically, besides the world we're in and 2 or 3 of the characters that are involved, it's totally different. And so that was really disappointing to me. The sequel was very disappointing to me. And I really wish they had made it more cohesive to the first one. Keeping the whole, powers are banned, you live in this internment zone, hey, this cop has a powered daughter, and that dynamic, and use that to work this plot that you want with the dirty cop and this little girl's family member getting killed, and then seeking out the help of Robbie's character to stop dirty cop. Like, you could have had the exact same plot line happening, minus the new characters that are very meh, minus the dirty cop being randomly a powered person, minus the weird canine robot things that really didn't serve a purpose besides what the Guardians could have done. They're just basically smaller Guardians with 4 legs, loaded with little psych syringes, which you could put on a Guardian anyway. I preferred the Guardians to the dogs. I wish they had used the Guardians more. But yeah, I really wish the sequel would have been way more cohesive to the first one, and it was kind of a big disappointment when it kind of just jumped and felt like it was a totally different thing, and the first one hadn't really happened, essentially. Because the healer doesn't show up either. She would have been a cool character to bring back. Because like they do, but they don't imply some kind of romantic interest between her and Robbie's character. Like they imply that there could be potential for that, and then not really by the end of it. You're like, not really. But they have a relationship, and she is like, okay, you're still a decent guy, and they have the recognition of that. And so it would have been fun to have her character show up again. But no, she just vanishes from existence, and they don't even mention her. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Code 8. I don't know. The first one was I definitely enjoyed the first one. The second one was kind of a big disappointment, and I wish they had connected them more and made them mesh better and just made a more cohesive duology, because it didn't really feel like a duology. It felt like two different movies that happened to happen in the same universe. Yeah. I don't know. If you've seen Code 8, cool. Share your thoughts in the comments. What'd you think of the sequel? Did it make any sense to you? Where any of the plotline came from? I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. If you haven't, I would recommend the first one. You really don't need the second one in order to have a full story. I would recommend the first one. And if you like it and you want to try the second one, cool. If you don't want to try the second one, that's fine. If you're not into superpower movies or cool robot cops or that, whatever. But yeah, I highly recommend the first one. The first one is good. Yeah. I post videos on this channel every Wednesday and Saturday, and I post videos on the audiobook channel on Thursdays. I'll see you guys next time.